Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome back. Welcome to my channel. I am Lisa, and this is North Star Energy Healing. Today is Sunday, June 15th, 2025, and this is going to be a reading for fathers and father figures. Today is Father's Day here in the USA. So, funny thing, I had a plan of what I was going to do, what readings I needed to get out, and then I meditated. If you like meditations with light language, I would suggest that you check out the channel called Activations with JJ. So anyway, I listened to one of her activation meditations in my zero gravity chair, nice and comfortable, had my plan, got up, got to my desk, called in my guides, and thought I was going to be doing a reading for Leo. I start to get everything ready, and I start shuffling the cards, and literally I feel nothing. And I'm saying, okay, what's going on here? And then I hear, it's Father's Day, you need to do a reading for fathers. So I put all that stuff aside and said, okay, because I do exactly what my guides tell me to do. I am only here because of my guides. I can only do this because of my guides. So we are going to do a beautiful reading for fathers and father figures. I'm sensing anybody could watch this. Everybody has a father of some sort. Some people are fathers. Some relationships are good. Some are rocky. Some are challenging. Some are wonderful. Some of us have fathers in spirit, which is me. My biological father passed away, I don't know, 16 or 17 years ago. It was a very tough time for me, as we were estranged at that time. So if any of you have a rift going on between you and your father, if there's anything you can do to repair it, I'm not saying to let somebody in that hasn't been healthy for you, but forgiveness is the key to your own peace, right? Okay. Don't know why I needed to say that, but evidently I did. All right, so after I heard the message that I needed to do a reading for fathers, then I asked what decks, do you want me to use? And I get all of the oracle cards ready, shuffled, pulled, and the books marked before I do the video, because I found a couple of months ago that all that shuffling for the oracle cards and looking it up, getting the books and all that was taking up a lot of time, and you guys don't need to have to wait for the message, okay? I felt like this is what I was guided to do. Sorry, I digress. Okay, so we're going to dive right in with this message on Father's Day. The Divine Masters is the deck they wanted me to use for who's presiding over this reading. I don't know why that's been coming in lately, but it has. And so also what I wanted to tell you is, when I was shuffling the cards, when I thought I was doing a Leo reading, nothing was coming out. I didn't feel anything. As soon as I started doing this, I picked up that deck and I shuffled, and literally within seconds the card came out. The same thing happened with the next two oracle decks. So that's how I know that I'm in flow and I'm on the right track and I'm doing what they want me to do. All right. So the first card out from the Divine Masters deck, who is presiding over this Father's Day reading, is Lord Shiva. Karma. Release. The end of a cycle. Debts are paid. Choose your destiny. Okay? It's time to release any guilt or regrets you have about your past. If a decision you have taken is preying on your mind, know that it's not because the universe wants you to feel guilty about it, but because it's giving you an opportunity to see how far you've come. Also know that all of your debts have been paid, and you can stop asking the universe for forgiveness, because as far as it's concerned, you are forgiven. So this would be for fathers that feel possibly that they haven't done the greatest job. All parents make mistakes. There is no manual for parenting. But this also could be what I was just saying a few moments ago about if you have a rift between yourself and your father, father figure, grandfather, whoever that male figure is for you, that this may be the time to repair it, either by forgiving that person yourself so that you can move on, or possibly opening up the lines of communication there, okay? The past is the past. We cannot change the past. No matter how hard we try, no matter how much we want to, it's not going to change in this lifetime that you're walking. Now, can we change some of our karma with certain things we do? Of course, yes. You can have a past life regression. You can go into that energy. You can change some of that energy and heal some of that energy with a hypnosis session. If you're curious about that, you can go watch some videos on Alba Weinman's channel, Antonio Sangio's channel. Much of his videos of late are in Spanish. Suzanne Spooner and Allison Coe. They all have beautiful hypnosis sessions where people are able to heal certain things and understand some of the challenges. Okay, so there you go. All right, so the next deck, the Wisdom of Avalon, was what they wanted me to use. And the card that came out is Trust. Trust. This is card number 47, which is 11. 11 is a master number. It's an extremely powerful number. All right, trust. Hold on, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. All right. Do you have issues with faith? Do you have expectations of betrayal? Do you trust the mystery? Do you insist on mapping each tiny detail of your life, believing yourself to be the center of the universe? This marker reminds you that trust is required to move forward on your path. Yeah. Belief and trust in a higher power is about having faith that the outcome will be what it should be, no matter what it is. It is timely for you to place your trust in the divine, in your angels, and in the knowledge that there is a divine plan for all. Remember that humankind is imperfect, and even if you place your trust in another, there is potential for this trust to be broken. That's a really important message. Sometimes when we grow up, especially, we find out that our parents are human beings that make mistakes. And we have to understand that, right? There is no perfect person. There isn't a perfect, father, grandfather, uncle, brother. We are not perfect. We're not perfect children. We're not perfect parents. No one is perfect, okay? So we need to remember that, especially if you're having any type of struggle with fatherhood or being a father or with your father or your father figure, you have to look at it from a human type spirit. Help me here. What are you trying to say? You have to look at it through human eyes, right? That nobody is perfect and that everybody makes mistakes. We need to forgive. We need to move on. We need to let go, right? And we need to trust that whatever is happening, there is a reason for it, right? Especially challenging things. Sometimes we have challenges because we just don't seem to get along with our father. We feel like maybe they're too suffocating, too judgmental, this, that, and the other thing. Typically, most fathers are doing or saying what they're doing or saying because they love their children and they don't want to see their children make the same mistakes that they've made. So if you're struggling with trust, I would go inside, come from a place of love, and try to understand what's going on in the situation. Now, for any of you who have just lost your fathers, that can be a very devastating thing. I know it was for me. It took me about 6 months of medication and feeling like I was on another planet, basically, the realization that, he had passed away. and that there was now no time for me to make amends, which I have done. I've talked to him more since he's been in spirit than I ever did when he was on this earth plane. So, yes, I've come to terms with that. I've also come to terms with the fact that I wasn't an enlightened person. So when I was going through, my parents got divorced when I was very young. I didn't see my father very much, but there were certain things that I needed to learn from that, certain lessons that I needed to learn from that. One of them was that when I got a divorce from my son's father, I did not keep him from a relationship with his father, which is what my mother did to me. So there were certain lessons that I needed to learn. I didn't know that at the time, but I did later on, down the road. I knew exactly why I had had the father I had and the situation I had, because it was, there's such a long string of ancestry, right? That my relationship with my son and what I allowed him to have a relationship with his father then taught him lessons about his life and his manlyhood and masculinity and how he treated people and siblings and all that. It all comes together. And on this Father's Day, I hope that all of you can give thanks for the love and for the challenges, right? Okay. Next card, which made me giggle, is chop wood, because I was seeing, in my mind's eye, like shows like Little House on the Prairie where they had to chop wood for heat, and it's always the dad outside doing that kind of work, right? It's not necessarily what this card means, but that's what it brought to mind. So this is from the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. This is number 42, which is a 6, which is harmony. Chop wood, okay? Being grounded in everyday experience and having humility, okay? That's, yeah. So maybe some of you don't or haven't thought about the everyday things that dads do, right? Gassing up the car, driving you to school, cooking your meals, packing your lunch. Some dads do these things. I know sometimes the moms do, but just thinking about all of the everyday things, keeping the car tuned up and the oil changed and the lawn mowed, all those grounded daily, monthly, weekly tasks that dads do just to keep the home running smoothly, not to mention going to work every day so they can bring home a paycheck and get the bills paid, right? Giving you a hug when you need one. It's making me very emotional thinking about all these things. And if you are a dad watching this, you can appreciate everything that you do as well, because self-care is not selfish, right? So just being grounded and practicing humility. Sometimes we're angry and we say things, or if it was a dad, Spirit is giving me these words, well, I'm not going to do it like that because my father was a jerk and he did and said X, Y, Z, A, B, C, okay? That's also something that you need to come to terms with. And you need to really think about your relationship with your father and how it shaped you and what it gave you. What were the gifts from that? Even if it was not a great one, right? A great relationship. There are gifts in all experiences. Yeah, so practicing humility, appreciating the everyday, being grounded, and when we're really close to a situation, sometimes we just don't really understand it. So when I was a kid, my father, of course, he paid child support to my mother every week, and then twice a year he bought my sister and I clothes, and he would just buy them and mail them, and we would get this big box, and it was so exciting to open it. And he would typically mail us a birthday gift. We saw my father, if you can believe this, once a year for a 1-week vacation. That was my mother's doing, not his. We lived in Maine, he lived in Connecticut. And so I didn't really know my father growing up. But let me tell you, I did not know that was my mother's choice until my grandmother, her mother, finally told me when I was 20 years old. She probably didn't want to interfere on what my mother was doing for parenting, but I grew up thinking that my father really didn't like me, love me, or care about me. I just figured I didn't mean anything to him. Um, it was so hard. And when I found out, from my grandmother, it changed my entire perspective. And from there on, I did have a better relationship with my father. Of course, when you're in your 20s, you're not necessarily thinking about, oh, I'm going to go down to Connecticut for the weekend and spend it with my father. So I'm not going to say that, I spent loads more time immediately. But as I grew up and grew older, and because I had let go of that disappointment, that abandonment, all those feelings, I had let those go because back in those days, the mother had all of the say so about the kids. All right, so enough about that. I just wanted to point out that we need to give thanks, and I did understand why that happened when I was older. Um, then I had to let go some furious feelings towards my mother when I found that out. I was like, I was devastated to think that I had been robbed of a relationship with my biological father. But all those wounds have been healed, and I have worked through that. So Spirit, why are you giving me that conversation? So if some of you are in that predicament where you have a say-so in your children's relationship with their father, really think about it. Think about putting your own, anger aside and think about it. Because I can tell you this. When my son was 18 or 19, he asked me about the divorce between myself and his father. And, I told him, and I said, well, if you want to know the truth, I've saved all the papers, all the court papers, everything that we went through. But, if you want to know the truth, I'll tell you. And I told him why we got divorced and and all the times that his father took me to court trying to get custody and all these other things. And he said, Mom, I never knew all that. I can't believe that you never said anything bad about my dad the whole time I was growing up. And he said, I just love you more for that. And, but I wouldn't have known to do that if I hadn't gone through what I went through. So hopefully I'm making sense. So if you're in the predicament where, unfortunately, you are not with your children's or child's father, and you have a choice about whether or not they have a relationship with their father. Now, I'm not talking about if the father was abusive, okay? That is stuff that has to be worked out safely. But what I would say is really think about the situation, and if there is a way for your child to safely have a relationship that is unmarred by your opinions of that person, because they will be the biological father no matter what. That would be my recommendation. If you are the father and you are, estranged from your children because they live with their mother, I would recommend, if possible, highly recommend, that you make the best effort you can to have a relationship with your child or children. It's very important. It's very important. Okay. What do I want to say on that, Spirit? What else do you have to say on that? Just make sure everyone is safe, right? But sometimes out of sight, out of mind, people move on, they get divorced, they do things, and the children sometimes, unfortunately, kind of get lost, and don't have that relationship. If that happened to you when you were a child, try to understand it, forgive it, and move on from it, right? Fathers have a very, very, extremely important role in kids' lives, right? And sometimes households that grow up without a father or a good father figure, the children do struggle with that. I did. I was always looking for acceptance from, men, and got hurt a lot, in relationships because I was looking for what I was missing. And so that's important. It's important for kids to feel like their dad is there and is strong and is somebody that they can talk to. Don't make it so that your kids have to keep secrets from you because they're afraid to talk to you. Thank you, Spirit. That's a good one. Make it so that your kids feel like they can tell you anything. Sometimes do you have to dole out discipline? Of course. But there are times when you have to dole out love, and you have to make your kids understand that you are a safe place for them to talk about even mistakes they've made. If your child comes to you and says, oh, I was at a party and I drank, or I did that, whatever it is, it could be a lot of things. It could be having sex. It could be even getting someone pregnant or being pregnant or any of those things. Don't make it so that they turn away. Make it so that moms and dads are a safe haven, for these kids, your kids, children. Spirit, where are you going with this? The point, Spirit is saying, is to have a balance of love and discipline. Okay? All right. If they want me to say anything else on that, then they will get to it. Let's look at the tarot. 7 of Wands. Okay. 7s are reflection. So thinking about your relationship with your father or with your kids if you are the father watching. This is a position of defending your position. Now, this can go either way. Sometimes a dad will defend his position and say, nope, that's it. This is the way it is. This is the way it's going to be. Therefore, alienating their kids, right? Sometimes the kids don't want to listen to the parents. And let me tell you, if you are the child, parents have good advice. On up into, you could be 40 and your dad is 60, 65 or whatever. He still has good advice. Trust me. Taking a firm stance of defending your position to the death and to the detriment of your relationship is not a good place to be. 3 of Cups. Now, what Spirit is giving me right at this moment is make sure that as a father, you celebrate your children's mother, right? Whatever positive things you can find. Now, there are so many reasons why people may be divorced. Somebody could have had an affair. Somebody could have had an alcohol addiction. It could be anything. Find the positive thing that you can say. It will make your relationship with your kids so much stronger. So be able to celebrate your children's mom. Yeah, that's basically what I'm hearing. Okay, the next card, for whatever reason, came out upside down. I don't typically read reversals, but in this case, I was told to leave it reversed. The card is the Chariot. So the Chariot is a victory, but the Chariot is being pulled in 2 different directions. When we have it reversed, right? So reversed would mean that you're not pulled in 2 different directions. You know the way that you want to go. You know the right way to go, right? Chariot can also represent Cancer. This is the Cancer card here. But you know the way that you should go and what you should say. And sometimes it's difficult because we're in anger, right? And sometimes it's difficult because our children do things that push our buttons, that especially if they're teenagers, right? That's what they do. So Chariot is typically a big victory of something. This is reversed. What I'm getting is take the small victories and be happy for those, right? But don't forget the balance between love and discipline is what they're giving me. Nice, the Magician. So the Magician is all 4 aces. The energy of every ace, every new beginning, right? No matter what type of new beginning that you may need to have, and maybe your relationship with your father or as a father is amazingly fantastic. Great. This is you creating that reality, creating that relationship with the energy of all 4 aces. There goes my phone alarm. So you are creating whatever the relationship is with your actions, with your words, with your body language, with your modeling. What are you doing? What are you saying? What are your kids watching you do and say? right? So that magician, you have the power of creating it however you want it to be. Justice, balance. What we've talked about, I think balance has come up a couple times already. Lady Justice there. This is the Libra card. Number 11. Here is 11 showing up again for the second time, right? Master number. Powerful number. And she has one sword, the sword of truth. You sometimes, we can't always tell our kids the exact truth about something because, they're kids, right? We don't want to go to our kids and say, well, I can't get you any new sneakers because we have too many bills, or you eat too much food, or whatever. We can't do that kind of thing. Or we shouldn't. But you can be as truthful as possible, right? There's so many things coming in, so many messages coming in. Just remember that they are kids, that you are still their number one, right? Mom and dad are still their number one. So you want to be really careful about how you approach explanations about things, your discipline, different things like that. Queen of Pentacles. This is the queen of abundance, the queen of creating much beauty, a beautiful home. And they're telling me again about appreciating and teaching your kids to appreciate their mom, right? Appreciating their mom. When you are doing those sorts of things, you are teaching your sons, especially, you're teaching your sons to respect women, right? When they respect their mom, right? If you say things about their mom that aren't necessarily good, and if anybody is listening that has been through this with your own parents, reflect back and see how you're doing it with your kids, right? My father never said a bad word about my mother, ever. And she was the one who kept him from us, which is probably why I was able to understand him more after that than I was her, because I was like, why would she do this? So yes, make sure that you are modeling good behavior when it comes to respect. Don't argue in front of your kids, right? Fatherhood is such an important job. And I also want to chime in here, if you're a stepdad, that is even harder. It's harder to be a stepdad than it is to be a biological dad, because you're coming into a family that has already been broken once. You don't know what the relationship is emotionally between those kids and their biological father. It could also be that their biological father has passed and you're now stepping in. That is very tricky ground. I know, because I've had two stepfathers. One that was an Aquarius. He was very intelligent. I learned a lot from him. I didn't appreciate certain things until I was older, once again, because he had a very different energy than my biological father, who was a Sagittarius like me. I was actually born on his birthday. So that energy was really different. It wasn't until way later in life that I started to understand how hard his role was to step parent two girls. Right? So if you are a step parent stepping into that role, just remember it's almost like walking on eggshells, knowing what to say, and everybody will make mistakes. The one thing is not to try to replace the biological father, take the place of, but to be an asset, like a bonus dad, if you can look at it that way. Don't be offended when the kids might be standoffish about that. Your relationship will bloom and blossom as long as you handle it coming from a place of love, right? Blended families are also difficult. When my mom married my first stepdad, the one that was there through all my growing years, from like the age of 5, up through, oh gosh, I think I was 30 when my mother married the third one. He had 2 kids. She had 2 kids. They came together, and a few years later, they had one together. So there were 5 altogether. On his kids, the boy kind of melded into our family okay. They didn't live with us, but they came, for visits. The daughter really didn't want anything to do with us and still doesn't. Um, through all the years, she just kind of didn't have a relationship with him or whatever. But I'm just showing you there are different dynamics and different things going on with fatherhood and stepfatherhood. Um, if you're a father figure to somebody, somebody that doesn't have a dad, maybe you're a foster parent, maybe your big brothers, big sisters, or something like that. That's also really careful treading there, because you want to just model good behavior and be there for that person. Mind you, I'm obviously a woman, right? I'm giving you what Spirit is giving me to say on fatherhood, right? Very, very important. Fathers, stepfathers, and also grandfathers. There are granddads that are raising their grandchildren, right? There are granddads that maybe the dad is not in the picture, but you have to kind of step in. Modeling is the most important thing. How do you act? How do you react? What do you say? What do you do? Um, those types of things are super important. Kids learn from what they see. What do they see you doing? What do they see you saying, right? So, this reading is obviously dedicated to all of the dads, stepdads, granddads, father figure dads, all of those out there. Um, and I just really hope that this has uplifted you in some way, or given you a direction, or shown you things that you might be able to change, right? Shiva, karmic release. Remember, you can't change the past. Trust. You need to trust that whatever you've gone through or are going through was meant to teach you something. And then chop wood. Be grounded, right? Have humility, right? Looking at the everyday mundane things. Appreciating the things that your dads do, or as the dad, just appreciating. Sometimes we just have to say, thank you that I'm able to walk and mow this lawn. Thank you that I have the money to keep this car's oil changed. Thank you that I have the money for this mortgage, right? And modeling that and showing your kids to be grateful for the things that they have and the things that you're able to do. And then that Seven of Wands, remember saying, don't dig your heels in so much that you alienate your children. And as a child, don't dig your heels in so much trying to convince your parents. And an example of that, when my mom got sick with cancer, and I went to see her, she was still screaming at CNN, and I was like, Mom, this does not effing matter. And I said the word out, and I didn't often say that in front of my parents. That's just how I was. I said, stop watching this. Like, watch something that makes you feel good. She didn't listen to me. She continued to do that. And it made me super sad that she would want to spend her days yelling at the TV rather than she lived in a beautiful place in North Carolina, right on the side of a golf course, 10 minutes from the ocean. But instead, she spent her days being angry. And I'm pretty sure that's what made her pass so quickly. So, just appreciate the good things. Look to the good things, right? Don't dig in your heels. I couldn't dig in my heels with that. She wasn't going to, her energy was telling me, no, this is what she likes, being mad, I guess. I don't know. So I just had to let it go. I said it once. I showed her some examples of things that she could listen to on her Kindle or on YouTube that would be making her feel better. And then I let it go. I didn't sit there and berate her for not doing it. I had to let it go, right? Couldn't dig my heels in. Wasn't the right time to do that kind of thing. And then that Three of Cups celebration, going along the Three of Cups with the Queen of Pentacles, showing your kids as a dad how you appreciate and respect women, moms, grandmoms, sisters, whoever, your wife, and modeling that good behavior so that they grow up and do the same. That upside down Chariot, take the small wins, right? Take the small wins. If you've set a curfew and your teenager meets that curfew 5 out of 7 days, great. You're getting there. Let's see. If you've asked your child to do their homework by a certain time and they hit it most of the time, take the small victories. Praise the small victories. A little bit of praise goes a long way. When they don't meet it, say your piece and let it go. Don't stay on that forever, right? Intuition and love will be your guide when it comes to parenthood and fathering. Then you have that magician, all 4 aces. You are creating what you are creating for relationships with your own power and how you approach things. Lady Justice, balance, discipline, and love. Balance, discipline, and love, right? Yeah, that's really important. Okay, let's get an animal oracle to close out. Okay, wants to come right out. Cougar, assertive. Anything else, Spirit, that you want from this animal oracle deck? I just had to order a new one because this one is just too big for me to shuffle. And I love it. I love the artistry, but I couldn't find a smaller one. I traded a friend because she didn't like this one. I didn't know how big it was. It's fine. It's okay. Everything happens the way it needs to happen. So I've ordered another animal spirit deck. Anything else that you want for our dads regarding fatherhood, dads, stepdads, granddads, father figures? Anything else you want from this deck? Fathers, so important, guys. You're so important to humanity. You're so important to modeling good behavior for your kids. You're so important when it comes to, loving your kids, showing them love, not being too overprotective of your girls. All right, I can't believe this is almost 40 minutes. Cougar, assertive. In silence, you find power. Yeah, sometimes we have to know when not to say anything, right? Claim your leadership role and take action. You know where to go and what to do. What were we saying? What? That was the chop. Was that the chop woodcutter? Oh my God, the trust. Yeah, and the chariot. This is the third message coming out about you know where to go and what to do. You have the courage and confidence to succeed. Yeah. Truly believe that. Elephant, greatness. Love is your strength. Leadership is your path. Wow, dads, this is amazing. Your wisdom inspires everyone you meet. You can overcome any problem. You will naturally and easily achieve success. Yes, you will naturally and easily achieve success as a dad when you balance discipline and love, when you come from a place of love, when you have to discipline, right? When you model good behavior, when you respect your mother, your grandmother, your daughters, your wife, all the females, and you're modeling that good behavior, right? Remember that no one is perfect. We had that message earlier. We're all human. We all make mistakes. It's how we come back from those mistakes that really makes the difference. And I gave you, Spirit had me tell you a lot of stories about my own relationship with my fathers and how that shaped me and what that taught me. So I hope that this has helped you in some way. I really, truly do. This is why I do what I do, to bring messages from Spirit to help people see things maybe in a different way or think about something they haven't thought about. Happy Father's Day. Peace and kindness every single day. I love you all.